Newcastle United won, Man City won. This City side going to St James's Park always struggles, particularly with Eddie Howe. Obviously, there'll be big question marks about this City side without De Bruyne and, of course, Rodri. This is the first kind of real showing with Kovacic in midfield, Rico Lewis. Obviously, Ilkay Gundogan was playing that kind of number 10 role with De Bruyne out. And the overview would be that this City side, with or without Rodri, has actually struggled at St James's Park for quite a few seasons now. It's a tough place to go for City historically, always has been. And obviously there'll be all eyes on Gvardiol, the City sides that he puts out in the next few weeks, particularly from North London, about how City go about getting back to winning ways. A draw against Inter Milan, a draw against Arsenal, a draw against Newcastle. It's still so early in the season, and there are some massive positives still from the St James's Park result. The big overview observation would be that actually this City side, I think without Rodri, yes, massively missing, but in these away days in particular in the Premier League, De Bruyne, we really missed fluidity in the final third. The link-up play was slow, it was linear, it was side to side, and Ilkay Gundogan, we have to be honest, put in a really flat performance. Again, it's never about being too hypercritical about any one player, and he obviously missed that big opportunity that Nick Pope gave him. Could have squared it, could have played a better ball in to Erling Haaland, could have done something a little bit different to what he did, which was really poorly executed for someone that good. And we saw it against Arsenal. He's a little bit rusty. He broke through against Arsenal. He volleyed it into the side netting where he should have gone right across the keeper and smashed it in. I think going to Spain has actually slowed him down an extra yard. I think he's going to have to take a couple of months to build back up to the real power and the physicality needed to break away in the Premier League and get away from a man. I don't know if he can play in an advanced midfield position, and the chat of him being as a false nine, completely out the window, in my opinion. If Haaland was to get injured, no way Ilkay Gundogan's playing as a false nine. So the big takeaway would be that kind of the attacking midfield solution for Man City is just as problematic at the moment without De Bruyne as it is without Rodri. Now, long-term, players can come in. Bernardo Silva had a good game, had a great opportunity in the final minutes to make it 2-1. Phil Foden, of course, Mateus Nunes. There are so many talented players, of course, but De Bruyne was really missing. And obviously, we saw it last season when he plays that ball into Oscar Bob. Dare I say, Oscar Bob's missing. I think City could do with a little bit more movement. Obviously, Savinho didn't start. Obviously, Doku didn't start. They came on. Let's just talk about the goals in chronological order. That might be a little bit more helpful. Obviously, Gvardiol on the 35th minute, I think it was, kind of finds a little bit of space, beats a man, and then he cuts it in on his right foot. I mean, it's Thierry Henry level finishing. Gvardiol is such a big bonus for me in this City side. He starts every game. He'd start the Champions League final tomorrow. Top quality. He puts in 8 out of 10s every single week. And I think his defensive qualities are fantastic. But the amount of important goals, you could argue that his goals got us over the line in the Premier League title race last season, pushed us on towards being close to beating Real Madrid last season as well. So this guy's a Champions League level left back, top quality, and the goal was absolutely superb. And I think in modern day football, we can be a little bit too dismissive. Of course, he should be scoring that. Of course, he should be doing that. No, that is outrageous. He's a centre back playing left back, bombing on, beating a man and tucking it in on his right foot, and he's done it consistently. What's that, 8 goals for City or something like that? Or I think he scored 7 last season, didn't he? Or 6. So he's doing really well, and I'm a big fan of Gvardiol. Have to talk about the penalty incident. All I'm going to say is that I think since the start of the Premier League season last season, no other player's got as many penalties than Anthony Gordon. He's 4 ahead of the second most amount of penalties from players. So he's got 7. The next player's on 3, I think. So that's what you need to see. That firstly, Gordon's pace gets him penalties against loads of sides. That's the first observation. The second observation is that Kyle Walker's playing him miles on, and you can sort of say you can see a couple of goals already this season that have kind of come from Kyle Walker a little bit. Dare I say it? The Arsenal goal as well. Maybe it's a little bit frustrating. Dare I say it? The corner that came in as well. Calafiori goal is what I was talking about. From Kyle Walker's positioning, defensive awareness. I don't know if he's lost a yard of pace and he kind of needs to navigate around that by being a little bit deeper. I just think he's having a really flat, poor start to the season. I don't know if that's down to the Euros, the hangover from playing as many minutes as he did in the Euros, which is a little bit unexpected maybe, especially with Trent's lack of minutes in the final few games of the Euros. So, yeah, Kyle Walker, a little bit flat, a little bit frustrating. Obviously, Gordon goes through, clear onside. I hate how football's going, but you have to give the penalty. There is just enough contact, and it's almost like it's such a good ball through. It's so well taken from Gordon that Ederson you almost just have to hold your hands up and say it is a penalty. Then Gordon takes it very, very nicely. The way the ball gets played through midfield would be a little bit concerning. Too many spaces in behind Kovacic and Rico Lewis, who, if you're going to play two, it's basically 4-2-3-1 is what City played against Newcastle United. If you're going to play 4-2-3-1, it has to be a narrow 4. The 2, it's a kind of 6, compact, hard to play through. And it felt a little bit too easy to play through. I think Joelinton had a very, very good game, dominated physically areas of the pitch that you think Rodri would be able to dominate. Tonali, Gvardiol as well. Very, very good Newcastle United midfield, and actually to come away from it with a point a week after what happened to Rodri, actually, as I'm speaking, it feels better. What can I say? City had chance. Obviously, I mentioned the Bernardo chance. I think there was a lack of urgency in the second half. Too many side-to-side passes. The lines weren't being broken quick enough to get Newcastle United running back to find spaces in behind defenders, behind fullbacks, behind midfielders. Everything was kind of played in front of Newcastle. And that would be a little bit concerning until I see a solution of kind of a fully fit solution. I don't really know what it is at the moment. I don't think Ilkay Gundogan can play in a 10. I'm not massive on Bernardo Silva as a right winger when you've got Savinho there, particularly when you can put Bernardo Silva in midfield. You can't play Bernardo and Rico Lewis. I think you do need a bit of Kovacic's experience, but Kovacic, again, he never has bad days. And sometimes when I've criticised Kovacic, maybe City fans or other football fans have sort of don't really get the criticism. But he's one of those players that can get through a lot of football matches looking solid, never makes a mistake. But the ambition in the Man City midfield has to be a little bit more than what I think he provides. And at points he can go through midfield. He always wants the ball. He's always running. He's always moving. But that kind of decision, that kind of that power, the midfield today lacked it massively. It's a tidy midfield. It moves the ball nice and quick. But that kind of, dare I say it, genius, dare I say it, physical prowess to kind of burst through and really smash a side and get through a side. It never felt like City were running through Newcastle United. It felt like it was side to side around the corners. And I think Newcastle United coped with it very, very well. And you have to be honest, Newcastle United are missing quite a few players in their own right as well. Of course, Isaac, the big one, Wilson. They're missing a few players. The centre-back, Botman. So Newcastle United are missing players, City are missing players, and City weren't able to go out there and try and get a win. I'm seeing a few things on Twitter about mentality. I don't buy it. I still think City deserve a good month, obviously with the international break included, to figure out what the midfield solution is. City found it a couple of years ago before Rodri kind of really came to the club and did an unbelievable business. It was Bernardo Silva and Ilkay Gundogan in midfield. And for me, I think he might have to just put an arm around someone and say, you're my number 10. You're going to get rotated with De Bruyne, with Bernardo Silva, but you're my number 10. And get these players training, believing they're going to be the guy that can run this midfield. Because you can't trust De Bruyne's injury record, with all due respect, and Rodri's out. So I think even if it is Kovacic, you say, all right, this midfield, you need to get to know your best midfield as soon as possible to build rhythm. So by the time January, February rock around, City are winning games again to get back to the top of the table, which obviously City are currently top of the table, but Arsenal could change that if they score a few goals this weekend. Is it Kovacic, Foden, Gundogan? Is it Kovacic, Foden, Rico Lewis? I just want to see a bit of regularity in the midfield, just so that the patterns of play are kind of there. The creativity is kind of there and understood. And I think City were a little bit lost at sea today, but it's not the worst result. I really don't think it's the worst result. It's just an observation, because obviously this midfield needs to adapt very, very quickly, going into tougher tests than Newcastle United. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thanks very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll see you very, very soon.